Welcome to the Shadows of Change DLC. I'm DovPlays if you're new to my channel, and today I'm going to be showing you a multiplayer battle between myself and HDS, the Spanish content creator. Yeah, we've got the Changeling here, who is very interesting in his implementation in multiplayer. You can see I brought him here with no abilities or spells. That's because he costs 3,500 points base cost. However, you can then choose from a number of legendary characters, lords and heroes both, to transform into. Now, the way it's been implemented is a little bit odd because the cost doesn't change based on the transformation you take, which means you pretty much only ever want to take the most expensive transformations, such as Kugath, or in this particular replay, I'm going to be transforming him into Skarbrand. Yes, Skarbrand leading a Tzeentchian army seems wrong in so many ways that it seemed very appropriate for this battle. I've got a Cultist of Tzeentch to be the spellcaster, because of course Skarbrand doesn't have any spells. In multiplayer, you can transform and cast the spells from whatever transformation you turn into, and you get the full spell kit. So if you turn into Kugath, you'll get every spell from the lore of Nurgle. But today I'm rocking Fireball, Burning Head, and Cascading Firecloak on this Cultist here. The idea is I want to get as many procs of Kindle Flame as possible, and he also has this Wand of Whimsy, which buffs melee attack and weapon strength map-wide. Should also be pretty good for Skarbrand and for the rest of the units I've got here, which include some brand new Zangors. Looking pretty sweet, I must say. Interesting addition. I'm not sure how they're going to fare in land battles, but in domination and for the Beastmen, which they are also available to, I do think they'll be quite good. Their weapon strength increases as spells are cast nearby, and they do have 80 armor, magical attacks, barrier of course, and basically the same stats as Bestigors more or less, but they do cost 300 less. They don't have armor piercing damage though. They do pick up a shield, gives them a missile block chance. Again, it's 700 cost. Does give the Beastmen kind of a mid-tier shielded infantry unit, and again in domination it gives Tzeentch a fast, reasonably hard-hitting, reasonably tanky infantry unit that can fulfill quite a few different roles. I can foresee them being quite good in domination. The land battles, for Tzeentch specifically, we'll see. There are some other units that are competing for similar roles, such as Forsaken or Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch. Anyway, I've got some Blue Horse, more Zangors out here, a bunch of flyers, including the new Regiment of Renowned Screamers, who have an explosion ability castable at range. It doesn't do any armor-piercing damage, but it is something that you can use to help do some extra AoE damage. My opponent, HDS, here is coming in with all the new Cathayan units, of which there are a few. We've got the War Drum here. This is specifically the Regiment of Renown version. War Drum has several stances, which give AoE buffs, which are decent. It itself is also unbreakable and carries Mastery of the Elemental Winds, or some nice magical stacking. Gives one aura gives +8 melee attack, immune to psychology. The other aura gives +24 armor, and the one also, I believe that's unique to the Regiment of Renown War Drum, also gives magical attacks in the area of effect and only 15% speed. Not wildly useful there, 15% speed, but the magical attacks could be useful against certain demonic-focused factions. Yeah, and then it also gives both Yin and Yang harmony. So you can use this with a primarily melee-focused army. You can see HDS does have mostly a melee-focused army. Of course, Yuanbo himself coming in with a mixed lore of Yang and Light, I believe. Yeah, if we go ahead and take a look here. Anyway, we'll look at that after the fact, his full spell kit. But he also has some self-buffs here. Insane self-buff to give him way more armor-piercing and weapon damage, base weapon damage, more melee attack as well. And of course, he has this execute ability, which I think is a little bit overtuned right now. It's castable when a lord is a character is below 20% HP, and it will basically instantly kill them. I mean, it does enough damage that it will kill almost any character at 20% HP. So we'll go ahead and watch for that. He's also got both the lions here, the Jade and Jet Lion. One of them provides Yang harmony again, which is pretty good. One of them provides Yin harmony, so you can take these guys, again, the Jet Lion specifically, in a melee-focused army and still be getting harmony, not having to rely on range units, which is going to be really strong in some matchups. Not that Cathay needed it. They were already one of the strongest factions in the game in land battles. They're going to go to S++ tier, most likely, with this DLC. But anyway, let's get things rolling here as I kind of go through the rest of these units. Yuanbo's going to transform into his beautiful Jade form. I have to say, one of the most beautiful things in the DLC. Absolutely gorgeous. And of course, you've got this Guardian Shield. The Jet Line has more of an anti-mage kind of defensive focus with very high melee defense. 60 is insane for a monster, even if it's a relatively small, squishy monster. It does have minus 10% physical resistance as well. The Jade Line is much more offensively focused, has Flammable, which doesn't have flaming attacks. A little bit odd. Cathay doesn't actually have that much with fire damage, so it's not wildly useful, but it's there. Also has a Conduit ability and a Jade Dragon Breath bound spell for AoE damage. So, let's get things rolling here as the rest of the armies clash. You can see I've already got my nice Arwar Tzeentch Screamers absolutely blasted by that cannon. Scarbrand, Changeling into Scarbrand. It's going to charge into the lines there and start to kick around some of the Jade Warriors. As the War Drum comes forward, you can see the Jade Breath in the distance there as both the lines kind of crash. Initially, the Crowmen, who I haven't highlighted at all either, another new unit here, just got absolutely smashed and routed off by my superior flying forces, but they'll be back. Yeah, they're okay flyers. I guess I could look at their stats real quick. They're worse than a lot of other flyers in a similar price range, I would argue, like Furies or Harpies, but they do fulfill that role, and they've got spotting, which is a thing that exists in the game. Anyway, yeah, you can see here Scarbrand so far isn't really faced too many tough challenges. He's just been charging around, you know, kind of massacring different units. Now it's going to get into combat with the Jade Dragon, so we'll watch this duel unfold here. Keep in mind that when you transform as the Changeling, you do not get items, so if I show Scarbrand's card here, you'll see he does not have the item that charges up his weapon strength based on how many kills he has. And so if you think about other lords, for example, like Sigvald, not that you would ever transform into him because he's quite cheap, but if you did, you'd not get access to Auric Armor, which is kind of the whole point of Sigvald. It's that awesome self-healing and tankiness. But I'm hoping that they'll change that in future patches. I'm hoping that in the 4.1 update, we can convince them to change it so that the Changelings... get it? Change it? The Changelings transformations are more cost-based rather than having it be just 3,500 for, you know, even a squishy caster on foot. It's a little bit odd. Even with cost-based transformations for the Changeling, though, I'm still not sure... like, you would ever want to take, like, Foot Karl Franz, for example, right? Like, there's just no reason to do that. Other characters I could see, like Marcus Wolfheart, or some other, you know, foot skirmish characters, or, like, a tanky foot character like Vlad. Although, again, you don't get access to some of these items, so maybe not so much. Hard to say, really, but it would be an absolute dream if they would implement the mounts. Anyway, getting back to the action at hand, I'm just not even talking about it. Yuanbo basically just took a huge amount of damage there, but once HTS was able to form up with all his single entities, transform Yuanbo into a smaller target, so Scarbrand has a harder time hitting him. Scarbrand actually just gets, like, beat down by the double lions, and, yeah, you can see here, I wanted to highlight that he has been, I believe, marked for execution. Is that what that is? Anyway, yeah, been disrupted as well, so he does have his physical resistance reduced, taking extra damage from that, but yeah, you can see that little icons popped up here, and take a note of how much health he has. We're going to now see Yuanbo's execution in action, and he's dead. Did you see it? It's like 1,500 damage, just instant, so that's pretty insane. I don't know how actually balanced that is. Like, if it was 15% or 10% HP, maybe it'd be more balanced. I don't know. Maybe that's too low. I have to say, it is still pretty early to say for certain, but it seems quite strong on the face of it. And, of course, with the loss of Scarbrand, my build is just going to completely fall apart. It was 100% reliant on keeping him alive. And regardless, though, I mean, the Zangors ended up doing okay. They were able to get some kills. Not as much value as I would have hoped. And of course, blues are doing their thing. They're going to be reasonably cost effective, but actually do struggle to a degree, especially due to the fact this drum was providing armor for a good part of that initial fight in the front line there. That's looking pretty rough, so we'll get in and soak up some more cinematics as the Zangors fight it out with these peasant spearmen. So yeah, TLDR or TLDW, I mean, I know I'm saying this towards the end of the video, so kind of counterintuitive, but anyway, you know what I mean. In summary, I'm not the biggest fan of how the Changeling's mechanic was implemented. It has a lot of potential, and it seems really cool. It's going to be insanely strong if it's retooled to be more, have more cost-based transformations, so that, you know, it actually sometimes makes sense to maybe take, like, a Marcus Wolfheart, or, you know, we'll look at the transformations. I'm allowed to show you guys the custom battle screen, so we'll just get right into it after we finish up this battle. So yeah, the Changeling himself in Scarbrand form does get a pretty good amount of value. Doesn't quite pay for himself. He's about 700, like 650 short. Still, it's pretty decent. I horribly misused the Shrieking Sky Rays, so that's tough. Granted, they are pretty expensive for a Screamer unit. Screamers are already a little bit expensive and squishy at times, so it's going to be tricky to use them effectively, but I'm sure some people will. The Zangors seem like a decent unit, like I said, in Domination. Seem like they're going to be good for the Beastmen. I'm not sure they're going to be that great for Tzeentch in land battles. Remains to be seen. But, of course, Furies do their thing. The Blues also are here. For HDS, I mean, Yuanbo got kind of mauled there initially, but does show his strength in the execution phase once he gets some help. The Lions, I have to say, I'm quite impressed with. Then the War Drum, too, although it seems like a meme, it is pretty expensive. I mean, the ability to take like a melee entirety, you know, all melee units, does seem pretty strong in a few matchups, and the possibility to do so is pretty exciting, I would say. These Jade Warriors, of course, punching up as ever. It just probably the most cost-effective infantry unit in the game, I would say, singly. Onyx Crowmen are also a unit that exists. I don't know if they're going to be wildly useful, but yeah, they are here in case you want a unit that fills this role. Maybe like if you're going with an all melee rush army and you're worried about some artillery or missile units, you can take a few of them to try and snipe those out. But anyway, let's go ahead and just quickly take a look at the Changeling's mechanics. So if I go on over to Tzeentch here, so yeah, you can see 3,500 base cost, and it doesn't matter who I pick, it's always going to be the same base cost. And those characters are always going to be on foot unless they're only on takeable on a mount. So, for example, brand new Mother Ostankia, Ostanki is what I'm probably going to call her. She's awesome. I'll probably show her off in another replay, but she comes by default on a chariot, and there's no way to unmount her, so she obviously would transform into her chariot form. But given how the base price of many lords is pretty low, and even with paying with the full kit, it's still, like, even Scarbrand, for example, right? Scarbrand's full kit, even with the items, is 3,250, so I'm paying a 500 point premium for a Scarbrand with, you know, no slaughter and carnage, which is pretty painful. The only one it really makes well, the only one you get a discount on, I should say, is the big boy himself, which is probably going to be the strongest way to play the Changeling initially. In some matchups, this is going to completely break Tzeentch, I think, and we'll see that hopefully coming up in some future replays. But yeah, Kugath doesn't have any items, so you're not missing out on anything there. 4,000 is his cost, or his full kit, which you do get access to if you choose him as a transformation. So most likely, the Changeling is just going to be Kugath on Tzeentch's roster. And that's going to be a big pain for a lot of factions, especially when you consider some of the units you could pair it with on Tzeentch, like the Mutalith Vortex Beast, which, again, another new unit that I didn't talk about here, but it does have a very strong Mortis effect. And when it can be healed by Kugath on that 10,000 HP, it's going to be pretty insanely strong. So yeah, I mean, I guess, like, Be'lakor is another one that potentially, technically you could, although with successive nerfs, he's not nearly as good as he used to be. But yeah, I mean, I guess technically you do get a discount on him by almost 1,000 points, which is pretty solid. Or, you know, there's a few other monstrous lords like maybe Durthu who would come close to equaling that with their full kit. But yeah, Kugath is definitely going to be the main focus, I think, for these guys. And you might see some of the other ones. Again, some of the Cathayan lords also fully kitted out, come pretty close. Like if I switch to Grand Cathay here, you can see the dragon siblings all are pretty much there. Keep in mind that does include the cost of some items, though. So like if we come in here and deselect the items from Yuanbo, brings his cost down a little bit. All things to consider. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Not my favorite implementation of this mechanic, but it seems potentially really strong and quite broken in specific situations. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.